Okay. So there you are.
Okay. So we have decided then that the blue is ultramarine and the red is alizarin crimson. If you haven't got it, I've got some, so you can have mine. Alizarin crimson. So we've got to think about the more yellowy tones. Now, if you look at that, you could think that the ochre might help, but I think it's a bit less warm than that. I think it's quite a cool sort of yellow that you want. Lemon would be, which is a cool yellow, is totally ridiculous. So what I am thinking of doing is using raw umber. Raw umber and burnt umber are two browns.
You will need to speak closer to the phone.
Are two browns which are, if you like, greener than raw sienna and burnt sienna. Raw sienna and burnt sienna are warmer. They've got a sort of reddish tinge to them, whereas the umbers have a more greenish tinge to them, and I think that would be best. So I've got alizarin, ultramarine, and raw umber as my three colours, and I hope to get all the colours on there out of those three colours. I'm hoping that the green I get out of the raw umber and the ultramarine are going to be sufficiently green to make it an attractive picture. Now I think if you want to watch, you're going to have to come here because we can't show it on the screen. I'm sorry, I didn't want to have you all grouped around. I don't think you got COVID, but you know. Hopefully not. Right, okay. Anne, would you like to bring your chair up and come and sit beside us?
Can I sneak in there?
Yes. Do you need a chair, Jill?
No, I'm fine. Still, thank you.
Right, okay. Right, there we are. Now, I'm going, you're going to stand right in the fairway, aren't you?
Can I move this?
No, it's
no. Oh my goodness, anyway.
I haven't done any drawing,
No.
and I want you to do no drawing as well. There's no guarantee that I get it right, but I think what happens is it makes for a livelier picture if you don't draw. Okay, so I've started with the alizarin crimson because that nice fat shape is calling to me all the time. It's the part of the picture that I like the most, right? So if I can get that in pleasingly, I'll feel happier about that. Okay, so I'm going to put it round about here. You've got to assess how much room you've got to leave for the thingy at the top. And you've got to assess how much room you want here for the width of the shade, or even not put it all in if you're tight on paper. Okay, so it will be about down here, and if you use the side of the brush like that, see, it gives you a nice shape. See what I did? If I draw it like that, one thing, I won't get the thing accurate, and then I fill it in. Can you see how less appealing that is than that? Sorry, that is than that. Don't know what we're getting here, but we're doing our best for you, friends. Okay, now, in actual fact, I think that's probably as far as we go for focus with that colour. Now I've got here the, it would help if I clean my brush properly. Where's me? Right, if I take some moisture off the brush. Now that gives me, this is raw umber, it gives me that colour. And I think that's a good representation of that over there. Right, okay, so if we look at the bottom, there's a sort of knob there, which is actually quite dark, so I'll leave it like that. Because in this painting, I've got to get the shine in as well as everything else. And then we sort of swoop out like that. And there's a couple of lines going round like that. And then it comes down like that. Okay, it's not bad. And it's the same on the other side, which is fortunate because it gives me the shape. I've made that too fat, but never mind, eh? This is hairy painting, this is, I tell you. And then we've got those there. And this comes round here. Now that is actually darker there. I'll think about that later. And then we've got lines coming down. So I'm putting the shine on now. Comes down, and that's a bit fatter around there. And there's a couple of thin lines there. This fat one goes really fat down there. You see, again, I'm using the width of the brush to get the shape. And then there is, fortunately, a nice dark shadow. This is called, no, I've forgotten what it's called. The contact shadow. There, that's the shadow created by the thing hitting the table. Okay, and round there. Now, if I clean my brush and take a bit of my blue, I don't know that I want it as runny as that. We'll see, maybe. Put that in there. And in there. In effect, mixing the paint on the, could even go darker, couldn't I? There we are. And that is round there, and that is darker down there. Oh gosh, life is hairy. Okay, I'm not displeased with that. It's not bad. It's not brilliant, but it's not bad. Okay, so let's look at the top. Again, back to the raw umber. Now, you've got a choice. You can either build it from the bottom of the lamp down, the bottom of the shade down, or you can build it from the lamp up. And I'm going to chicken out and go for the lamp up. Okay, so there we got that there, and that. That is there. That is there. That comes like that. That is there. Right. Happy with that. Then there's a thin line down there. A thick line there. Going on to a thick line there. Didn't get that quite accurate. It should have been a bit fatter up there, but no, I can put that right if I need to. Okay, I'll let that dry. While I'm doing that, I'll think of the lampshade. So if I put a lot of water in that, put a lot of water in the raw umber, I get that sort of shade, which will do. for the creamy thing. Right. Now, when you're doing a shape like this, remember form before decoration. So before I even think about putting the ivy leaves on, I need to get the form of the thing itself. So if we come, how are we doing for time, Rachel? Right, it's okay. I'm going to go for a bit more because whatever. Anyway, so there we are. That's the undershade, if you like. And then on top of that, coming out here, again, the side of the brush will help. And the side of the brush there. And it comes down, and then the side of the brush there. Where are we? Come here. Side of the brush there. Comes down like that. Side of the brush there. Those are quite... And that is actually quite a fat shape there. And then... Well, that is light, so that edge is going to be put in by the flowers rather than by the whatever. Then we've got this thing around the top here. Now while I've got it like that, I want to darken off some of the shadow here. So I put it wet in wet. Just put more paint in and it's spreading a bit. And then if it gets too active, I can knock it back with a dry brush, like that. Take the. Don't put the rag round and squeeze the bristles, right? People do. I've seen it. Right, okay, I think that will do. Now, I don't know what kind of green I'm going to get, so I'm just going to see what happens when I mix that blue.
On the edge there.
Pardon?
You're on the edge there. It's okay.
Oh, yeah, we add a bit more blue, because it's actually quite a dark colour that we want. Now, it's not that colour.
Nobody will know when you take that
But
off.
apart from, no, but it will marry better with the picture. And if I take it out, it makes quite a nice pale colour as well, which again, we've got
Yeah.
on there. Okay, come on you, dry. Now the other thing we need to do, if I take it darker, if I take the blue, now normally if I wanted a dark like the edge of that pot, I would mix that with burnt sienna because it makes a lovely dark. I haven't got burnt sienna in my mix, so I've got to work out how to get a really dark dark. So take the water out of the brush so that I'm using the paint more neat and put a bit of the yellow in, whatever, you know what I mean, the umber. That gives me that, which is actually quite dark, isn't it? I think I could get away with that. Okay, so that's quite thick paint. If you want darker colours, you put more pigment, less water. So you might need a thing to take the water out of the brush. Round about here, I'm not going to have much room for the, I've got that sort of thing there, and it's there, right? And then this is quite thick, isn't it? So I'm going to use the side of the brush to run it down. I've got a bit of dry brush there, which is rather nice. And we've got a contact shadow, which is, oh, they're a blessing, contact shadows. And then we come down this side. This is exciting, I'm enjoying this. Not saying it's accurate, but I'm enjoying it. I could-
Maybe 5 more minutes.
Right, okay. I'm just hoping the lampshade dries sufficiently quickly for me to show you. Right, and then I want it a little paler. So all the time I'm assessing how much water I've got in the brush and in the paint, so that it will do what I want it to do. If you stick too much water in, you know, you get problems. Right, so this is a little less, should be a little less. Less strong. And there's a sort of band around there, isn't there? Or did I use that? And then I've got some stripes coming down here. And some thicker stripes coming down there. Ah, there we are. It's not brilliant, but it's there. It's after all only an exercise. And then if we take the ultramarine neat and put in that band there, it's not big enough, there we are. Right. And the contact shadow underneath. I don't know how we're going to get the gold. We'll have to use this to get the gold lines on the top. And could be being a bit steadier, but there we are. It's what life throws at you, isn't it? There we are. It's not brilliant. That should be much neater edge. Can I do that? That's a bit better. And then extend that a bit so that we've got at least an impression. And then there's all kinds of doodahs up here. A little bit of red, just to pull the thing together. There is a bit of red in there. Just to pull the thing together. And let's try it. See if I can do those leaves for you. So if we start, it's probably wet, so I shouldn't be doing this. If we start like that, again, I'm using the brush, the shape of the brush. It's too wet. But if I was using it properly, I'd get a point, like I'll go over there. Okay. The leaves. And it does something like that there. There's a very dark line up here, which is the ribbon. If we try to do the leaf over here, it comes in about there, and a point. Take it out as far as the edge of the shape. And it comes down here. See that that's starting to define the edge of the thing there. I could start to play with the shadows underneath the curlicues that are coming, because there's a nice shadow there. Whoops, that's neat paint. That's not good. There's a nice shadow under there, which is working rather nicely. And that there, And oops, that started to run, which is fun. And there's a shadow under there. And it goes up into that shape. No, I'm rushing it now. And then there's a dark shadow there. You can see the sort of thing I'm aiming for. I'll just put the last few attempts at leaves. There's one there. A leaf over there. Yeah, you know, if I was painting more slowly, I'd take a bit more time about the shape. I was just trying to give you the basic idea of how I'd go about it. Right, so I haven't really got that shape right, so let's see if I can correct it now. What you shouldn't be doing. Okay, and now that's dry, I could perhaps attempt to lift some of the lights out of there. Don't know if I can do it with this brush. There's a sort of streak of light across there. And I would failing that. Oh, that's not bad, is it? And then there's more down here. And another one there. Then I could always take a bit of blue and darken these shadows around here. Yeah, there we are. If I play on with it anymore, you know, it'll be a wash, yes. But that does actually go up there. See, that's the trouble. Once you start, you know, you don't want to start. You don't want to start fiddling. It's not a good idea to fiddle. Not a good look at all. No. It's a bit sharp.
The colours are good, aren't they, from just three?
Yes, that's the point is, you see, if you do go out sketching, taking just 3 colours with you, you can easy to carry, practically nothing there. Right, so you see, you can make a fair try at producing what you see there. Just sort of take your time, and you've been looking at the shape so much, you should be able to do it without actually putting a line down. If you start to draw it, it gets very rigid.
Too precise.
Too precise, yes. See, this is going to fall off here. That should be further over. Whatever.